Hey, good morning, everybody. We'll call our September 10th Scott County Fiscal Court official business meeting to order. I'd like to start the meeting and ask you all to join me in a moment of silence in remembrance of the 20th anniversary tomorrow of the 9/11 attacks, and out of consideration for all those that lost their lives and loved ones. And I pledge to never forget. And I'd like to ask you all to join me in that moment of silence. Thank you. With that said, I'd call on everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hamilton, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Corman?
Present.
Mr. Ellison?
He cannot hear us. He just sent me a text message.
Okay, he's present though, right?
Yes.
He's logged on. Okay. Mr. Burke?
He's muted.
Yeah, I'm here.
Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Present. Glad to see you all this morning. It's a great weekend. You could not ask for a prettier day, and going to be great weather. It seems like, and we'll cross our fingers for the Festival of the Horse this weekend. So, with that said, we'll move down to agenda item number 4, consideration of the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any questions or comments related to those minutes? I have a motion.
Second.
A second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, number 5, transfers as presented. Are there any questions or comments?
Motion for approval.
Motion from Dr. Wallace.
Second.
Second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we only have bills. There are no hand checks. Bills were presented in your packet. Any questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Rick Hostetler. Second. Second from Mr. Alvin Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, let the record reflect. And if Sheriff Hampton wants to make any comment, but he doesn't have to, just let the record reflect sheriff's fees in the amount of $27,970.50 were submitted by Sheriff Tony Hampton.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I got one.
All right. Next, let the record reflect that clerk fees were submitted by County Clerk Rebecca Johnson in the amount of $193,308.44.
I guess that's a big thank you.
Well, we had to take a zero out. It was a typo. Yes, but it is a bigger thank you. Absolutely. With that said, we are going to, Mr. Holland.
Yes, sir, Judge.
Are we joined right now by our guest in regards to the ASAP?
No, I don't see him on here, but I can speak to it a little bit, Judge.
All right. Well, if you'll speak to it, and then if he joins us, we'll give him the opportunity.
Okay.
We're-
Basically, Scott Turner of our local ASAP board has announced got an email from him last week announcing that the fiscal court got its award from our local ASAP board, and it's going to be close to about $14,000 to $15,000 in that range. I don't have that number in front of me, but it will go towards the paying of the rent for the Shepherd's House. So really excited to get that grant. I know Scott and Tori have worked extremely hard because there has been some reduction in funding from the state. But I can tell you this, they worked very hard for this project because they believe it adds so much to our community. And they just, they're really excited about rallying with us and helping the Shepherd's House become as strong as possible. So.
Hey, I appreciate that update. And if Mr. Turner joins us, we'll certainly allow him to share that with the court via Zoom. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next, I'm going to turn it over to number 9, County Attorney Intern New Hire. Randy, you want to speak to that?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I've already had a young lady from Georgetown College start working. I'm just paying her now. She started this week, Emma Mattingly, and she's basically just running for us. She would work roughly 12 to 15 hours a week. Now, part of that would not be paid by the county. The part she does for me, I'll pay her separately. But there would be things she does for the county, running back and forth to the courthouse and that kind of thing. Ideally, quite honestly, I'd like to hire another part-time one down the road, but would bring that back before you all. But that'd be my request, to hire Emma Madeley, no more than 12 to 15 hours. Again, part of that's going to be me paying her.
Mattingly?
Yes. I don't know, what the rate would be. $8.50 an hour. $8.50, okay.
What questions or comments does anyone have?
And for whatever it's worth, we've had a high school intern, as long as I can remember, a co-op student, and we don't this year. Nobody contacted us, so for the first time forever, we don't have one. It kind of surprised me.
I can reach out to that leadership and make mention that in the future, don't forget us.
Yeah.
But any questions or comments about that request from our county attorney?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Mr. Alvin Lyons, second from Kelly Corman.
Can I ask a real quick question? So we're paying part and you're paying part?
Yeah.
Okay.
What she'll have to do is, let's say she takes a deposit to Central Bank for me, she'll keep that time and I'll pay her. If
Okay.
she comes up here and brings something to Judge Covington, that'll be county time. If she's answering the phone for the county attorney's office, that'll be county time.
Making copies for the county attorney.
Yeah. Okay.
I've kind of talked to her about, and I told her, I said, I realize you're not going to know instinctively which one you're doing. You ask and we'll tell you, and you can log
Right.
accordingly.
Okay.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we had a question. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, number 10, we're joined today by our fire department chief, John Ward, and Jeff Mudrack as well, that's going to discuss fire department new hires, alternate candidates.
Right. So I'm glad we presented a couple extra names at the last meeting. We ended up needing those, and we have working through the hiring process for those two individuals. And what we'd like to do now is, just in case we have some additional resignations we didn't expect, to go ahead and be prepared for those. So I'm presenting to you on behalf of Chief John Ward, the next two individuals on the hiring list, which are William Jackson and Seth Whitlock. I've already shared with you their resumes and some details regarding their past experience. If either one ends up being appointed as a firefighter after we do our due diligence of doing reference and record checks and all those kinds of things, then the starting pay would be $12.30 an hour. So I'm just asking for your approval to add these two additional alternate candidates to our possible appointment list if we need to go forward with them.
What questions or comments does anyone have for Jeff or John?
Just a question, the two that left, did you do exit interviews? Are they just taking other positions, retirements?
Well,
Or is
I haven't sent them our exit survey form yet, but I do know the reason for leaving. One is moving to Florida, and the other one has taken a position with Toyota.
John, will you step up to the podium and, you all have done a massive amount of work to identify good candidates, quality candidates. The next step is your training process. When will they onboard and start?
We're going to start on Monday, September 13th. 14 weeks. It'll probably end us about toward the end of December before we ever get them on the truck.
End of December?
End of December. And that's, we're going to put them on a truck. We're working with EMS. The ones that are not EMT certified, I think their class starts in February or so. The ones that are not EMT certified, we'll get them in the EMT class. So it's been a lengthy process. And that,
Wait a second. Michelle. Is there? Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, John. So that's exciting. That'll be 6. 8. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I gotta get my numbers right.
Yeah, it's a big group.
I think that this shows our commitment to, adding staff and just a commitment to doing the best we can to protect our community and provide services. So, any other comment you'd like to share? And there's any question for Chief Ward? Chief Ward has rolled his sleeves up, and he's in there every day going at it. And I appreciate it, and we're glad to have you, Chief Ward.
thank you all.
Any questions for Chief Ward or comments? Anything else, Chief?
Thank you.
All right.
motion
Motion from Alvin Lyons.
Second.
Second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Appreciate it, Jeff.
All right.
Anything else from you?
Well, next on the agenda.
Go ahead.
Okay. We would have had some new hires, but really the only thing we have right now is a promotion. And so on behalf of Chris Running, I'm pleased to recommend the promotion of David Herdlansky from paramedic to field training officer. He's currently earning $17.70 an hour. He'll be increased to $17.96 an hour. And the effective date of that promotion will be the start of the next pay period of September 18th. I shared with you his cover letter and resume for the position, so I'm asking for your approval of that recommendation, this promotion.
Rick.
I'll make that motion, but also, just a quick question. So you were planning on hiring, so where are you at in staffing?
Well, we're actively, we just had a resignation this week, so that's what we're working on, is trying to fill that position. Of course, and Chris and his team do a great job of moving things as fast as they can with filling positions. Matter of fact, I even have the system set up so that as soon as a paramedic applies, he gets an email notification letting him know that a paramedic has applied. And we've had a couple of applications. Unfortunately, they've been hard to reach. Some of them are from up in northern Kentucky. It's my understanding, we're talking with Chris yesterday, that there's a department that is hiring, is it 16 people? 20 people up in northern Kentucky and paying a little bit more than we're able to pay, even with all the additional work we've done. So that's what has prevented us from being able to bring some names to the court today.
Motion. Is there a second? Second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I see Scott Turner. Scott, can you hear us?
He looks like a superhero.
Yeah. Scott, if you can hear us.
He's muted.
He's
Blink
muted.
twice.
All right. All right.
Kick him off.
I'm sorry, Scott. We're having technical issues. I'm sorry, Scott, we can't hear you.
Houston, we have a problem. Speaking
Yeah.
of Star Wars.
Scott, we'll move on.
He's
And-
gone.
And then we'll,
Not either.
all right,
Who is that?
let's ask Michelle. Michelle, can you address the court with your audit update? It is on the agenda.
Well, no official report's been sent, but everything went according to plan and as it went well, so there's nothing to really say, except it was a good audit.
When we get the official letter, we'll share the letter.
It has to go, our CPA has to send it to the APA, so, and
All
once
right.
they review it, we'll get the official report.
Where's it at in the process? Is it
They
been-
have sent it to the APA.
It's completed, been signed off, and we had an exit interview, very positive. Once we get that official letter back, we'll share it.
Any other questions?
All right. All right. Now, I think we've got Scott back with us. Scott, can you hear us any better? All right. All right, Scott, here's what we're going to have to do because we're still having trouble. Jared shared the good news that you all were going to be able to assist with a grant again in the approximate amount of $13,000 to $14,000 that we will use to offset costs related to the Shepherd's House program. And he shared that, and we're very appreciative, and we appreciate the collaboration and the partnership. And we look forward to that program continuing, and its impact growing on people that are battling addiction. So for some reason we've got a bad connection, and just wanted you to know that we appreciate your all's collaboration and partnership. Thank you. With that said, we will move on and we will talk about new business. And in the new business, I want to do two things. I want to officially address some updates from Branstetter Carroll that I've shared with you in copies, and I've shared with the sheriff. And let me stress this, that the court has not made any decisions about capital projects. And we have many capital projects that have been brought to the court through the Capital Projects Committee and then from the community. And we have to consider those holistically and look at impact and then look at budgetary requirements. It's my job to bring information to this body, and that's what I'll continue to do. The court will decide which direction we want to go in, and as a group. So I'm excited about the prospects of what we're doing. We have a responsibility to our community to address needs and make sure that we have facilities and staff that can provide this very important, public services. And, that's what we're doing. In this Branstetter Carroll update, what the main thing that we heard from your last conversation was that the concern about room for growth, because our community's not going to stop growing. And then how would that reflect in what was presented as a starting point of discussion about a possible footprint of a plan? And all this is a starting point and a point to have discussions about where we want to go. If you don't do some work and some planning and gathering data, then you cannot make informed decisions. And if you don't make informed decisions, then you make mistakes. And I trust Branstetter Carroll. They've got a great record of doing good work, and what they have brought to you, basically changed. It shrunk the footprint, and it moved the sally port, the evidence locker, some holding areas, a fitness area to the basement. And what it also did was it opened up the rest of the basement of the footprint of the building to be open for, it's unfinished. It'd have a concrete floor, painted walls, and then LED lighting, of course. But what we've discussed with the county clerk in the last meeting was with Kenna Portwood, representative of the clerk's office, was the need for open areas to be used as voting centers. With the state law changing, with early voting, we have to have areas in the community that can be used for voting, and the concern is schools won't be closed, and we're not going to close schools. Learning has to go on, so we have to have an area that won't impact something like that. So the change in this plan reflects and adds that ability to have that in this facility. So if you're looking at a facility in considerations, you're addressing needs for a sheriff's office, a county clerk's annex that would handle transportation and road and motor vehicle licensing, and then also address a need for elections and addressing that state law change for early voting. So this is just information that I am sharing with you. I feel like maybe at the next meeting, if you want to come back and ask more questions, I can have Mike Carroll here and ask questions. But I wanted you to have this in your hand to review. It is simply a starting point. It's nothing more, nothing less. Sheriff Hampton, would you like to make any comment about the changes, or? And as we said, it's a starting point.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to go. This is like the third set of plans, but I like these, especially the Sally Port going to the basement with the evidence processing, the hold rooms, then a big evidence room, fitness area. It just, that will work. That'll be great. And then having the early voting down there. And the elevator will accommodate that from the lobby upstairs.
Does this include the detective's office?
I'm sorry?
Will the detectives move also?
No, I believe they're still upstairs.
I mean, they won't be at the museum.
No, everybody will be in under one roof.
Yeah, that'll be also a huge thing.
What's the purpose of the Sally Port? I mean, I have no idea what.
So,
because I always think of that where, like, if you're coming into the jail in Lexington or something, there's.
Well, essentially, a lot of times we will, if we arrest someone, we will bring them to our office.
Okay.
And to interview. And at this point, we have to park in a parking lot, walk them through, past all the staff and everything.
Right.
Sally Port will be able to drive into the basement, take them, put them in the hold room until we're ready to interview them.
Okay.
All right. And there's 2 holding rooms in that.
Yes, that's correct.
In that area.
That's what I'm saying.
And, what other questions? I appreciate that, David.
The people you arrest, bring into this area, will there be any need to bring them upstairs to the other offices, or will they only be on the lower floor?
Well, the way this is drawn up, this would accommodate just using the lower floor for that purpose. That way we wouldn't have to have them upstairs around the civilian staff and the clerk's office and all that. It makes a lot of sense by taking it to the basement.
Another thing that it provides that privacy. I think you and I
Correct.
talked about that a long time ago, where you don't have to. You may have any kind of case where.
Well, a
you
lot
really,
of times we have victims that we bring in, and
Right.
in the same case, we have to walk them through past everybody.
Right.
This way, we're going in out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And then we may bring them upstairs to a more private area, but at least there's privacy going in.
Yes.
If I go ahead real quick, David, then also my use of the Sally Port use 2 other things that we know of. We can have vehicles cars or whatever that we seize from a search warrant, that kind of thing, we can have them towed into the Sally Port so we can do the search warrants to the vehicle inside and not have to worry about the elements or whatever. If we're doing it outside, we use it for that. Also, for instance, the police department in their Sally Port, when they bring in I forget what the name of it they call it now, but it's the firearm simulator training.
Yeah.
They do that in their Sally Port and set that up over there. It's a lot bigger area. It gives them room to move around. We currently, when we have it, we do it out of the county garage. JR's building lets us use kind of a loft area up there,
But having this unfinished area in the basement.
That's where we would do it.
I mean, your training opportunities
Yes.
just expand.
Yes.
So. I had a question for
Dr.
Tony
Wallace.
and a question for you, Judge. The first one is, Tony, in looking in the big scheme of the park and the road department, one of the things that when the Great Crossings Park was designed is we did not connect the walking path that is by close to, it ends at the dog park and it starts back up by climbing the tennis courts. Is that going to be an issue if in the future that the walking path goes around the SO? I just I'm trying to put it all together and want to make sure that you were not going to have, or
No,
any
that
future
wouldn't
sheriff
be an issue.
have an issue.
People walk by our office every day.
Right, that's what I thought.
No.
The second question, either one of you
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
You know, JR and I talked a lot about that, and we've even, looked at, where could we do this to make a circle? Yeah. And, with this building, the path, we would loop behind the secure parking and then down that hill and go back around down by Betsy Way.
Yeah.
Because I think it's something that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I think it needs to be a topic of discussion.
Yeah, I just want to make sure there wasn't any security things I wasn't thinking about. The second thing is with this potential judge of being a voting center, one of the things that I would be concerned about is older people who are coming to vote and having enough handicap parking, or area around that they would enter in through the Sally Port.
No.
Okay.
The way that Mike and I, if you look on the first floor.
Yeah, they would vote in that area there.
No. Well, the community room would be a option. And we discussed that with Kenna because the community room got bigger. But if you notice, the lobby of the sheriff's office, you'd enter the front vestibule, enter the lobby of the sheriff's office, and anyone that would need access to the elevator would be able to access the elevator during those times right there. The elevator would be shut down for only staff use all other times because nobody would need to access the basement. But Mike said we could, you could have a key card that only accesses that for staff at other times.
So instead of bringing them through the Sally Port, they would go in the front.
They go in the front door, and that's a
Okay.
great question. But Mike also said that we could fix it to where folks could use the stairs during that time as well, and still block off the public from other areas of the building.
Actually, the way that's set up, you couldn't do that. Not with the stairs.
No, we had that discussion. He said we could do it.
Well, because if you look at how it is, you'd come out of the stairs directly into the sheriff's space.
Well, but if you look, David, there's a door to there's a door that blocks the sheriff's office, and there's a door that blocks the clerk's office. So people could go back through that door and go down those stairs, but they wouldn't have access anywhere else.
Well, when I'm looking at the stairs, when I'm looking at the basement floor plan, when you come out of the stairs, you come directly into the hallway of the sheriff's department, and then have to go through another door. So you would need to
we'd have to have. He didn't put a door. In the basement.
Right.
But he fixed it on the first floor.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But he would have to fix it on the basement.
Okay.
One other thing.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Great. No, I'm glad you're asking these questions.
If there's a potential to bring victims in through the Sally Port and then to get them upstairs for further interviews, whatever, we ought to look at putting a double-sided elevator so that if that voting area is being used, you wouldn't have to bring them out into that public area. You could go into either the backside of the elevator. You know,
That's a
really
a lot of elevators have doors on both sides,
Yeah.
which would be able to keep
No,
that
we could
separated.
definitely look at that. I appreciate it.
Look at it.
But
Good idea.
if the court would like me to have Mike come back to our next Thursday night meeting to answer questions and give a little bit more information about possible costs and any other things, you all email me any other questions that come up to your thought process. Sheriff, you want to make any other comments?
Will it be next Thursday?
Not this coming Thursday, but the 23rd.
Okay, I'll be back from training. I was just gonna say, I would be in training this coming Thursday,
Okay.
so, yeah, I'll be able to be
If
here.
not, we'd zoom you in.
Judge,
Gotcha.
one other thought still on the elevator and the stairs. When you come on the first floor of the sheriff's lobby, you've got those 2 interviews rooms. Is that what that says?
Yeah, those are 2 that Tony wanted for people that come in. That
Reports, filing reports, stuff like that.
Oh, okay, so that wouldn't necessarily be,
No, that would just be,
That just people walking in off the street that
We have-
say, hey, I need to report a crime.
we have a lot of that. EPO requests, which we may or may not use those rooms. We may take them somewhere more private than that, but
well, that's what I was thinking. I didn't know what would happen in there because if the public's voting, if we did that, they would be passing that. I didn't know what the intention was.
Yeah.
And think of the voting, I mean, that's going to be just, how long does early voting last?
3 days.
Yeah, I mean, we can work around it during that time and make arrangements to make accommodations, so.
You can take them back to an office back in
Yep.
Yeah, then the other thing was what Alvin was saying. I was going to bring up about a door in the front and back of the elevator. And of course, they can key card those or do whatever so that only certain ones can open certain doors, however you want to do it. That's pretty simple.
Anything else? But I'll invite Mike, and then if you have any questions between now and then, let me know. But this was just to lay it out there and give you the information, and then the court can decide in what direction we go forward.
Have you gone far enough along to talk about cost or?
The previous estimation was in the $7 to $8 million range. This would be a little bit more because you're adding square footage but even though it's unfinished, but I can certainly ask him to be prepared to speak to that. But
We're about 33,000 square foot, it's about roughly.
yeah, this is considerably more square footage than you currently have now.
Yeah, no, it'll be nice, especially for future growth,
Yeah.
which we're gonna have.
So if we'll have him here and we'll go from there.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to have Chris Runyon share his PowerPoint and speak to you all. I shared, this is just another effort to bring the court information related to possible capital projects. And the Capital Projects Committee, identified this as a need. When you're talking about using money to improve services, creating another EMS district and going from 3 to 4, and then reducing response times, has a direct impact on whether that person that's in a critical situation, whether they survive or not. And I'm going to let the expert speak to that, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate the detail of the work that you did and the information that you presented, along with that Excel spreadsheet that showed improved response times on those roads that would be in the District 4. So I don't know, were you having trouble getting it to pop up?
Yes.
JR, can you ask him if he can switch to the?
There he goes. You got it.
There we go.
Morning, Judge, Court. Appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk about some of our needs. So just as the judge said, you know, we've talked for a while now about creating another district for kind of the northern side of town. It's a high call volume area for us, and we'll look at some of those response times. I can throw that spreadsheet up on the screen and show you, but basically, you know, we're out of space where we are, so we're kind of we've had an inspection by OSHA done recently, a model inspection, and then CAECO came and did a walkthrough with Jeff just a few weeks ago, and both of them said, you know, our storage rooms are at max capacity and too much stuff in there and not accessible to things that need to be accessible. So we do have a need, but basically, or the big need is response times. And as the judge alluded to, you know, when you talk about high incident calls, critical calls where time matters, and we had one, Judge, just outside your door not too long ago that I think shows the difference, right, in the outcome when you're talking about seconds and minutes. And we can decrease those response times to a really kind of high area of our call volume by, you know, creating this new district and getting a station in that area. So click for me, Mike. I appreciate you.
Oh, one more, Mike. Technology.
Right.
There we go.
There we go. So this is kind of how we operate now. We have 3 stations, 5 ambulances. We run 24/7. We have 9 ambulances in the fleet. Again, 5 of those are our frontline trucks. We have 41 full-time staff members. 36 of those are actually in the field. Paramedics and EMTs run calls. 22 medics, 11 EMTs, and then our admin staff. Just click on it. So these are our current stations. We have our headquarters on Broadway that we share with City Fire. And then we have our stamping ground station that opened in 2005, and the Sadieville we share with County Fire that opened in 2007.
And Chris, you run 2 ambulances out of Broadway, 1,
sometimes 3.
Sometimes 3.
Yeah.
And then 1 out of Sadieville, 1 out of Stamping Ground.
Right.
What you shared with me, and I want to make a point real, you know, and I'll let you go, but
sure.
The plan, if you added a 4th district, right now, you would shift one of those teams out of Broadway, and it would not be an additional staff request right now.
Correct. Correct. We have the staffing now. We have the trucks. So we would just be kind of relocating resources to be better in a more advantageous position to serve those folks. And go ahead.
No, I'll let you go.
Right. And, you know, we'll look at a map.
I'm sorry, Rick has a question.
Well, while we're on so the Stamping Ground and the Sadieville stations, are they, there's an EMS unit there 24/7?
No.
Or
They're stationed there 24/7, but the way we operate now is if the downtown trucks are tied up, the 2 or 3, then we move a truck down from the county to cover town until we get a truck freed up. So those county trucks kind of move back and forth during the day, depending on the flow of business. One of the big advantages, Rick, is that if we get this District 4 created, it's going to take a lot of that coverage area from the Sadieville station and allow them to be there more often in Sadieville. So that's, you know, and we've heard those complaints, you know, from the folks out there, like, why is the truck not in? We just drove by the station and noticed, you know, they're not out. And sometimes they're on a call, but sometimes they're down here covering because this is where.
Well, you also pull from Stamping Ground.
We
too.
do. Yeah, the way we do it, our Station 1 is Sadieville, Station 2 is Stamping Ground. So depending on if it's an odd day or an even day, odd days, Sadieville is that cover truck, and they'll come down and cover. Even days is the Stamping Ground. There's days when both of them have to come down. I mean, we get covered up and we pull them down, just depending on the needs for the day.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this graph shows our call volume. I would like to say the 2020 numbers are down, and that's primarily due to COVID. We had initially, when the pandemic started, people were scared and didn't want to go to the hospital. And we had calls where we'd go out and people were sick and needed to go, and they were just scared to go there because they didn't know, they didn't want to be around COVID. So that impacted our call volume quite a bit. But you see that the 2021 projections, as of September 6th, we were 900 and change calls above where we were September 6th of 2020. So our call volume's up by 21%. If we continue that over this last quarter, then we're projected to hit almost 9,000 calls this year, which is a significant increase for us. And again, it just it keeps those trucks on the road and moving parts and having to bring trucks down to cover when our city trucks are busy. This graph shows the runs by district, and obviously District 3 is the heavy hitting point, and that's where the majority of our calls come from. And District 3 encompasses Georgetown City proper, and then some of the county areas, and that boundary kind of shifts a little bit as the city continues to annex, but it covers south to the Fayette line, and then north up to about the Triport area where we start to get into District 1. So District 3 is a big area, but it's just a heavy population and a high call volume. And of course, our hospitals there, we do a lot of calls. All our nursing home and assisted living facilities are in that district, and that creates a lot of call volume for us as well. The only thing, no, you're good. I just wanted to mention on that previous graph, if you look at the calls at Toyota, which is all we consider now is District 4. So obviously we want to expand that, but even that is a pretty high volume of calls per year for one facility, and we partner with them. We do training with them. We go out and train their folks, work with them. And we run a significant number of calls. They have their own healthcare facility out there that they staff with a physician's assistant, sometimes a physician. They have nurses on site. So they'll evaluate a patient. So usually if we're going out there, it's because the person really needs to get to the hospital. If it's just a routine first aid, they take care of it on site. So those calls are actually pretty sick folks if we're going out to Toyota. And then this map reflects the image on your left. Is how the districts are broken up now, 3 of them. The blue is Sadieville, kind of orange color is Stamping Ground, District 2, and then the green is District 3. And the image on the right, the purple area would be the new district. So you can see it does take quite a bit of 3 and 1 coverage areas, spreads those resources out. And again, the way we approached it is just we're looking at the call volume. And I don't have those numbers to share with you because that district doesn't exist, so we can't search by that. We have to search by individual road names, and the software we use doesn't allow us to do that currently, so we have to send that request to the folks in Austin, Texas, where the software is manufactured, to pull those numbers. So we're working on getting that to show the exact number of calls that are in that kind of non-existent district now. But I'll have those for you, and I can show you the difference, what it would alleviate from our current District 3 and even our District 1, our Sadieville district. Any questions about?
You answered the one question I had just then.
Do we have any automatic aid agreements that we have to respond outside of Scott County?
We do. We have, there's a Bluegrass Coalition, of EMS Coalition, with all the adjacent counties to Scott County. So we're in this coalition, and it's just a mutual aid agreement that if somebody calls for us, if we have staffing available, truck available, we'll send, and then it's reciprocal. They'll if we request them, they'll come into our county too.
Does that happen often?
It happens, Rick, that we send folks out. It doesn't happen very often that folks come in Scott County, and the reason for that is we're better equipped, we're better staffed. Owen County, just to the north of us, runs 1 ambulance a day to cover that entire county. Grant County has very limited resources. Dry Ridge Fire Department runs 2 ambulances per day. So we're just in a much better situation than those folks. So they call for our help a lot more often than we call for theirs.
Are those in those 2 counties, are they government stations or are they privatized? Government? Okay. Do they have private carriers? No? Okay.
No, to my knowledge. which they don't.
Okay.
While you're talking about,
Oh, do they?
Okay.
so while we're on that, let's just dip over to what you just touched on.
Okay.
You're still concerned about the certificate of need.
Certificate of need. Yeah.
And it's a conversation that needs to be had with our state representative and the state senator.
Absolutely.
Can you share with the court?
Sure.
30 seconds?
Sure. So the way EMS is kind of set up in Kentucky, it's governed by the Kentucky Board of EMS, or K-BEAMS, and they issue a certificate of need to an agency. So you have to go before the board and prove there's a need for EMS in that area. They evaluate it, they'll do studies, and they'll say, yeah, there's a need, or no, there's not. Once you obtain that certificate of need, and we have that for Scott County, no other agency can come into that district without your permission. So that somebody has to pick up the phone and says, hey, your local nursing home or your hospital called us to come pick up a patient. Can we come? The problem in some counties, and we mentioned Owen County, Clark County is another one that struggle. The EMS doesn't want to do those hospital transfers. They just don't. They want to do emergency calls only. So the Kentucky Hospital Association has for a few years now been determined to do away with that certificate of need. And so they have had a meeting recently where they met to talk about how to dissolve that. They want to take it to court. And so we are trying to garner some support so that that certificate of need does not go away, because if it goes away, the AMRs, the private businesses can come in anywhere and park a truck and hang a sign out and says, hey, call us and we'll show up. I will tell you that our local hospital doesn't have any issues with us, very supportive. We have a great relationship with those folks. I don't think it would impact us immediately, but 2, 3, 4 years down the road, who's to say that somebody wouldn't just come in and start taking ambulance calls.
So that might be a KCO.
So there's no support from the EMS side to even consider splitting off those runs, allowing a certificate of need for that specifically?
Right. So, and David, I don't have a lot of knowledge on it. We weren't invited to that hospital association meeting. So, right.
Imagine that.
Right. So I don't really know if they would do it on a selective basis. Then sure, if there's a need, obviously those needs need to get met. And I don't think anybody in the state or in EMS would stand in the way of that. And as it stands now, with that certificate of need in place, if folks call us and say, hey, we got a request to come to your county, and we don't have the staffing to do the run, then we allow them to come on. Come pick up the patient, make sure they're taken care of. But it doesn't work. People don't play as nice some places, so there's some animosity, and it's got a long.
Just concern. I wanted the court to be aware of that, and maybe a KCO conversation as well, along with our elected officials. So we'll follow up with that. So I'll let you get back to.
Okay. Yeah. So any questions about the district or the new proposed district? Or so
seeing that map and having it drawn out, and then you shared that Excel spreadsheet that shows you the estimated decrease in response time. That's a real factor to me.
Yeah. So this is just kind of what we've talked about over the past few minutes, why there's a need. We have Toyota out there at the business park. There's some plans for additional retail and entertainment dining on Lexus Way. So there's, the population is going to continue to grow. I'm sure you all saw the article recently in the news graphic that said our population was up 21% in the county. That just adds on to our call volume. The counties grow exponentially, and we want to be proactive and keep up with that. On the right side of that screen just talks about some of the issues we have, where we have to park equipment off-site, store equipment off-site that can't be inspected as often as it should be, which poses a problem for us. We have to park vehicles outside, which causes a whole other set of problems if folks are in an emergency trying to get to a vehicle and it's rainy or icy or dark. And then the training, I think, is one of the big needs, because if you had a chance to look through that letter, we have trained over 700 individuals in 2021 alone. And when we're
700,
yeah. And when we talk about when we get to the response times and we look at those minutes, in a cardiac arrest situation like what happened here in the courthouse not too long ago, if you can get to a patient in cardiac arrest in less than 4 minutes, and start resuscitation. And then an ambulance can get there and start advanced procedures in less than 8 minutes. The survival rate of that is just makes a huge difference. If not, then the outcomes are very poor. So I can tell you that the key to that, the answer to that, in areas Seattle is famous for having being considered a safe community, it's because they train their community members in CPR. So they know what to do, just like you and Stacy were able to do for that gentleman in the hallway until we could get up here. The national average for survival rates for cardiac arrest is less than 6%. It's not good. In 2020, our average was 13.5%. So we're double. And when we say survival, that's discharge from the hospital. That's not somebody laying on some life support machinery. This is somebody that's living their life, gets to continue to live their life. So we're double the national average, and it's because of the training we do. Not just with our folks to train them to make sure they're competent and perform well in the field, but it's folks like you all and your constituents, the folks that you serve. We train them. We offer those classes, the Stop the Bleed classes, the CPR classes. We go into hospitals. There's classes that we are the only certified agency in the state of Kentucky to teach, and we take that class and travel all around the state and teach hospitals and other paramedics and EMTs. So training is just a huge part of what we do, and it's why we have the reputation we have, in part because of the training we offer. But our classroom is so small now, our parking is so limited because we share that space. We have 2 or 3 parking spots open a day, and we're trying to bring 20 folks in for a class that may last 2 or 3 days. There's no handicap parking available in our parking lot. The rear of our building where the parking lot is not handicap accessible. So it just poses a lot of challenges for us to try to do that and do it well. But that's another big part of our needs as well.
Is there another slide, or is that it?
I think that's it.
And that's about the benefits. So
yeah. Can we access that
yeah,
spreadsheet you said?
it's on the. It's outside the. If you'll just, there you go. I don't know if I can get it up there though, so I apologize.
No, either.
But the spreadsheet was shared and.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we were talking about streets. So we went through and pulled all the roads that are in that proposed new district, District 4, and you're looking at response times that go from 10, 12 minutes down to 4 and 5 minutes. And we talked about minutes stroke patients, and in 2020 we ran 144 calls in our county for stroke victims. And every minute that somebody is experiencing a stroke, they lose 2 million neurons, 2 million brain cells die every minute. So it's not like 10 minutes versus 5 minutes. Is it really that big a deal? I mean, the minutes really matter. So we've got areas where we can decrease those response times by 7-8 minutes by creating this new district, and it's just a high traffic area for us, right? It's I know there are needs other places as well. I really do, but we try to approach it where we can do the best good for the largest number of folks.
What questions does anyone have for Chris? And I think the information they presented really is beneficial for you all to have. And Chris, I appreciate the job you all do, the work you do. And anything else? I've spoken with Mike Carroll, and I said, Mike, have you all built any EMS stations in the last 3 or 4 years? And they did an EMS station in Pendleton County in 2016, had 3 bays, a training room, a kitchen common area, storage, had bunk rooms for 4 staff members. So his cost on that when they did this in 16 was about 1.8. I just say that to give you a frame of reference of something similar. But we can certainly ask Mike Carroll to speak to that when he comes on the 23rd. And I've asked him to schedule to come. So, anything else from anybody?
I just wanted to point out that when we do
so that the microphone, so folks thank you.
Thank you all. I just wanted to point out, when we do get the opportunity to have a sixth truck, like at times we do have to, occasionally we'll have to go on a truck, or we get the part-time staff to come in and do it, make a truck. As it stands right now, 3 trucks downtown, and then with that 6th truck, we actually have to rotate, and they have to come in behind and get that 6th truck from like the 3rd bay, and they're parked behind, so then we got to switch everybody around, and it just tremendously reduces the response time, expands the response time.
All right.
There's just no room at all, so, yeah. Pretty much.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks.
With that said, I don't have any other new business. Any court member have any new business?
Since we're talking about money from the sheriff and the clerk, I don't know if you've gotten the check yet, but on our unemployment insurance, it's through CAECO, and
it's $13,000.
$13,897. So what I sit on that committee, and what we did on that committee is we looked at the reserve that's available and determined to refund the contribution from every entity within that program, which was a little over $2 million for 2018. So ours was $13,897. The library was $5,108, and I think those are the only 2 in the county that are through the CAECO unemployment insurance program. Good Lord, have mercy.
It's a mouthful. No, it's good news, and appreciate your work and help. I will double check. I think that check has came. But
We got it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So, anybody else? New business? With that, yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I ran into Lori Saunders outside, and she wanted me to remind the court about the parade. Yes. So if you don't mind, if you have her number, if you'll kind of let her know, because they're trying to get a head count of who's going to be there.
We'll go ahead. Like, if you know you're going to be there, let Stacy know after the meeting, and we'll get a head count, let her know. And I think they want you there around 4:45. Probably be wise to get there around 4:30. The parade starts at 5. Kickoff for UK Missouri 7:30.
Fast parade.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? If not, then
Judge, I don't know if JR's got any input or not. I'm just wondering about all the blacktopping projects, even out on the interstate. I get questions about how long that's going to last. I have no idea, but.
JR, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. How is everybody? Interstate's become a top priority since it's all tore apart. It turned into a lot more major job than what was expected. Did have a talk with Hamilton Hickle yesterday. Mr. Reed, they fully intend to start back on 25. They like about 13 miles, I think, of getting it done.
I know they're a long ways down.
Actually. Yeah, they are. They've got, I think that's the number he told me, but Interstate they're working with another company too also, and they're trying to get it knocked out.
Yeah, it was a lot bigger project, wasn't it? Did they have any kind of an idea, even on the interstate, how much longer they've got?
They're hoping maybe the first week of November. It's a major job.
Sure. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they're going to try to work our county roads in also. They've got 2 of them so far. And
we're going to have a total of 14 miles done. Is that right, JR? Or 18?
Yes.
14. So, moving along.
They are.
Thank you for that.
Anything else? Going once, going twice, we are adjourned. Thank you all.